Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. And this watch is a stainless steel Jaeger-LeCoultre Master Grand Tourbillon. The watch, part of a series that started with the Master Tourbillon in 2006. This is that watch, just slightly larger with a 43 millimeter versus 41.5 millimeter case. I know, small distinctions, but the trend was larger watches back in the late 2000s. So the original came out in 2006. This followed up as a platinum model about 2 years later, before rose gold and steel also became available. It is 13 millimeters thick, 51.5 from lug to lug, with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. The watch is large, and I'll let you decide whether it fits my 16 centimeter circumference wrist. It is pretty broad. We'll zoom out a little bit, get a better sense of scale. I feel like I could wear this, but the 41.5 would be more natural on my wrist. So again, this is a matter of personal judgment. If you think this fits my wrist, you can wear it on a wrist my size and feel good about that. I would say you probably need a 17 centimeter circumference wrist to wear it really well. And although it doesn't look thin, it is fairly thin. At 13 millimeters, it should slide under a cuff. You got a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs and a very substantial black semi-gloss alligator leather strap. There's some bolstering or stuffing to give it volume, monotone stitch, sheer cut sides, lacquered for refinement, calfskin on the bottom, brand new Jaeger-LeCoultre factory strap, no crimping, no gouging. We have a double folding clasp here. It's friction fit. You can see each side snaps shut with a JL logo on it. Folding clasps, always a little bit of extra insurance against dropping your watch by accident. The case is a familiar one. The form factor used on many Jaeger-LeCoultre watches in the 2000s and 2010s. So the case is very vertical and sheer. The lugs are blended. The lug profiles themselves are also quite sheer and tall when viewed from the side, and they're fairly narrow when viewed end on. We have a JL branded crown here, and as you can see, all of this is in high polish with slightly instepped conical bezel and a slightly cambered sapphire over a dial that surprisingly does include some luminescence, and we'll see that now. We've actually got quite a bit going on here. We have the tourbillon, we have a second time zone, and we have a fascinating date mechanism. So what happens is, as we cross midnight, the jump from the 15th to the 16th involves the total bypass of the tourbillon aperture, so that the date indicator is never going to cover up the tourbillon itself. It is a fun feature that I describe as a surprise and delight touch. Now you can also see that I'm moving the local hour independently, and that it's a 12-hour format, but that I also have a 24-hour format there. If you pull the crown out all the way, now you see that I can set both time zones, and what I would do is set the reference time, the 24-hour time, to whatever time is correct, and then go back to my local hour hand and set that to whatever my local time is. You can see that there are two different guilloche patterns on that register to show you where it is day and where it is night. And then we have by Arabic numerals 9 and 3, applique polished on the dial with faceted applique, rhodium plated, steel individual indices, and hands to match that are, if you look very carefully, half frosted and slightly blackened to contrast well against this dial base, with a very subtle silver sunburst for the dial base itself, and then a small scale against which you can read the tourbillon as the second sand. If you look carefully, you can see one component of the tri-spoke includes a small index at its end, and this is a 1-minute tourbillon, so that is your second sand. You can see the blackened and half-frosted elf-style hands to improve contrast. Then you can see that we have a little blue 31 to mark the turnover of the month up at the top, and that the outer track for reading the calendar has a slight step above the dial plane, so a lot of detail here. We have a beautifully executed tourbillon. We have a bridge that is beveled and skeletonized. You can also see it's been mirror polished, and then the tourbillon cage itself is made of titanium, and it has a mass of 0.28 grams. It is a 1-minute tourbillon. It beats away at 4 hertz or 8 beats per second. It's free sprung, and it's a rare application of an overcoil hairspring on a Jaeger-LeCoultre watch, enabling this to be a chronometrically relevant tourbillon, not just a beautiful one. And I remember speaking to a JLC watchmaker a few years ago when they were finally getting the ability to work on tourbillon regulators at Richemont in the US, and they were telling me that the adjustment interval, or the adjustment tolerance for these, is 1 second gained per day. Now on the back we have a 22 karat gold rotor, not 21, not 18, not rose gold plated, but 22 for maximum mass, 33 joule movement, caliber 978, automatic winding with a unidirectional winding action and ceramic bearings to maximize efficiency. The 48-hour power reserve beaten away at 4 hertz. The movement fairly large to fill a large case back, and also you can see combination of stripes, beveling, media blast, brushed dressage or satin. There is beveling, and there's a little bit of mirrored beveling on the edge of these bridges. Fire blued screws. You can also see a few well-chosen polished screws. And the movement went through the Master 1000 Hours Control, which is a fully cased-up test of the watch for 41.6 days, testing winding efficiency, power reserve, durability, water resistance. This is rated to 50 meters, and of course, chronometric precision in 6 positions fully assembled. And to that end, this movement, the 978 in the previous smaller Master tourbillon, mechanically identical, actually won the 2009 Concord Chronometry, which was a industry-wide invitation to come and compete in a classical 20th century style concours or timing test, and JLC actually won, and this movement beat the Gyro Tourbillon 2, so it was a JLC 1 and 2, but the cheaper tourbillon from JLC was actually the winner. So there is a lot to love with this watch. And I would say this, if you get really close to the tourbillon cage and bridge, you can see that it is by far the best decorated element of the movement, so all of the action from a decorative standpoint is on the dial. This is a great watch to own. It is truly an everyday durable tourbillon regulator. So if you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.